Morning.
Morning.
You guys see this? This is breakfast. Don't ever say your mama doesn't love you if she makes you bacon and eggs in the morning. Yeah. Okay, guys, so today we're going to talk about a couple things. I'm just going to start off by saying this is a really good book. It's Evolution by Stephen Baxter. It's really freaking good. I've made it for like the halfway of the second part of the book, and sorry, OCD, but it's basically just like a bunch of short stories compiled into a novel where they're all connecting, and it's like various different characters that are representing different species or periods in time, in different areas around the world. It's basically like if you want to know the whole story, it's basically like the plot is a big lineage of humans and the future humans. I'll go into that later in the book. I haven't gotten that far. I'm still into ancient humans right now. I've made it to like 58,000 years ago. That particular short story, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. If you've already read this book, but I doubt it, but recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff. There's some speculative evolution in there, which is pretty cool. But this right here, another thing I got off Amazon that I'm really looking forward to using. It's the Ziokoa, I think is how it's said. It's basically a microphone for my iPhone. It can be used for other devices though. So what I'm thinking about doing is actually doing videos for audiobooks. Like I want to do audiobooks on this channel. I also want to do voice acting demo reels of pop culture characters. I also want to try doing that a little bit. And I also want to I'm trying to think. Do a speculative evolution podcast. Now, I'm just going to briefly touch speculative evolution since this is the second time I've mentioned it now. Speculative evolution is a literary and artistic movement that first was penned in the 80s. Now, speculative evolution has been around for a while. It's been around as long as H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, since that's the very first old example of speculative evolution. And there's various different kinds of speculative evolution, but when it first got penned and called speculative evolution and really gained traction and became a movement was in 1981. Yeah, 81, I want to say, or 1980. And it was a book called After Man, A Zoology of the Future, written by Dougal Dixon. And he's a geologist, paleontologist, and biologist. So he's a lot of things. And basically his book was a bunch of animals that will still be alive in 50 million years ago and what they will look like, or what their descendants will look like in 50 million years from now, essentially. And it has about 110 speculative animals. Probably one of my favorites being, I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was, well, one of the notable ones I'm going to mention are definitely the rabbits, which are basically rabbits that adopted body plans like that of deers and elks today, and they basically took their niche. And then another example of speculative evolution would be in 1988 when Dougal Dixon would publish his next book, The New Dinosaurs, an alternate future, or timeline I should say, where if dinosaurs survived the extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous, where the meteorite hit and wiped out most of the dinosaurs except for the birds, what would they look like? Which ones would survive? What would happen, for the next 65 million years up into the present, and what they would look like today? And probably one of my favorites in that one was, I do believe, the Jinx, I think is what it was called, and it's basically like a devil and or a wolf in sheep's clothing, I should say, type of creature where it hunts this particular Hypsilophodont dinosaur, the small herbivorous dinosaurs that run around on two legs. And the Jinx was like a dromaeosaur, so it's like in the raptor family. And it evolved so heavily around eating this creature, it actually made itself, like over the course of 65 million years, made itself look like one of them. And it even has scent pheromones that mimic the scent pheromones of the prey it preys on. So it literally walks around amongst them, or it will, like, in a sense, indoctrinate itself into its herd, and then so other members of the pack will be out in the forest somewhere, and then when they're ready, they'll like cue the signal when the one that's infiltrated the herd gets close enough to one of them, and then that's when they'll pounce on it and hopefully kill it, or its pack members will come over and help it kill it. But and then there's another one, which was Man After Man in 1990, also written by Dougal Dixon. Anthropology of the Future, which goes into what mankind will look like in the future, and goes into messing with genetics and creating weird human, species and whatnot. And then, and that goes up to 5 million years in the future. But, and then another pretty good example would be Expedition by Wayne Barlow, who's a really great artist, really fantastic artist. And this is where another kind of speculative evolution comes into play, where he basically just took an alien planet and imagined what kind of alien life would be on that planet. And you can go crazy with that. So speculative evolution, if you want to know like the gist of it, it's basically future evolution, alternate timelines, and alien planets. But there's also another kind of speculative evolution where you can get into stuff like creating dragons and werewolves. Like I personally feel that if like there are werewolves out there, they're probably actually descendants of something like a baboon. Sounds a little crazy, but makes sense when you think about it a lot. So that's basically what speculative evolution is, and in a nutshell. And I really want to get into that, and make like a podcast around it, and create like a bunch of scenarios with you guys, and get ideas from you guys about what kind of animals would live in these scenarios, and what kind of changes would happen. I'd probably throw a bunch of random changes, and just leave down in the comments what you guys want to do. Do you guys want to see me do audiobooks? I could do audiobooks of my own short stories and some H.P. Lovecraft's work, if you guys are into that. I could do some voice acting and demo reels. I already have a couple characters in mind, like Radio from The Brave Little Toaster, and possibly some other characters. And then, of course, there's the Speculative Evolution podcast with a couple ideas in mind. This one in particular I have in mind is, what would the Earth look like after 50 million years after a nuclear apocalypse happened and killed off most of life on Earth? So, leave down in the comments what you guys want to see. So, see you guys around. Bye-bye.